Hey guys, happy Friday and welcome to session number 3 of our 5 sessions of Go for Gold. So today we're talking about recognition. Actually, I'm going to back up and say our topic last week, we looked at team meetings, and of course recognition is a part of team meetings, but there's a lot of other places that you can do recognition. But you know, when we looked at team meetings, we covered the importance of doing the monthly team meeting and making it regular, something people can count on, making sure that you're having a local, live, in-person, eyeball-to-eyeball team meeting, as well as for so many of you, you've got long-distance people, so we looked at the importance of doing a conference call for those people at a distance. We covered timing, location, content, reasons why this is a best practice for every executive. And today, like I said, we're going to really hone in on best practices for recognition. So, as always, this is an interactive webinar. You can chat to me and ask questions, and I do appreciate your feedback. So please feel free to send me notes as we're going through here. But I love this quote from Mary Kay Ash. She said that we're all wearing an invisible sign around our neck that says, "Make me feel important." People want to feel appreciated, and as a leader in this business, you have a wonderful opportunity to provide people with that feeling. And when they feel appreciated, when they feel like they're moving forward, you build their confidence by showing that recognition, that appreciation. You also build loyalty. People keep coming back when they feel that they're going to be applauded and appreciated. So especially at your meetings, recognition should not just be an accidental, "Oh, don't want to forget recognition." It should be a main part of your team meeting. And not only does recognition motivate those achievers to keep coming back and to keep achieving, but you know what happens? It's those that observe those achievers, that often inspires them to want to reach higher heights. So this quote that the power of recognition is one of the strongest forces for stimulating human and social action. Recognition's a powerful motivator to those who receive it as well as those who observe it. And I think that sometimes there's a fear that, oh, we don't want to recognize someone because it might make someone else feel bad that they're not getting that recognition. When recognition is done right, and you not only applaud them for what they've accomplished, but build in learning points on how anyone can do that, that is what inspires people to want to reach higher themselves. It's been said that people will work harder for recognition than they do for money. And one of the sayings you may have heard me share before is that that which is recognized is repeated. I'm going to say that again. That which is recognized is repeated. So on your team, you may have already identified that there are consultants at different levels of activity. You think? Yeah, there are some that don't do much. There are some that are superstars. There's some in between. We might call those A, B, and C sort of levels. The A's would be your stars. The stars, those are the ones that, of course, as leaders we love because they're self-motivated. They go for the company incentives without too much prodding, just like most all of you on this webinar, right? Often, the personality of those stars, they crave recognition. So at your meetings, if you do a newsletter or on Facebook, you definitely want to highlight those achievers, give them that time in the spotlight. They eat it up typically. And like I said, you share their accomplishments to show that it can be done, but then also share their strategies for success. And what you'll find is most of those stars, they love to share. They love that. So polish those stars to keep them shining brightly. You want them to feel like they are valued, appreciated, and those are your future leaders typically. So grooming them to be able to speak in front of the group as they will eventually start to build their own team. Now, the B people, those might be new people on your team, or those might be people who show up but are not your super high achievers, but they show up all the time. So those B people, I call those your horses. If you nurture them, if you feed them, some of them may take off and become stars too. And with those horses, with your B level, recognition in baby steps can often get them there, especially with new people. Highlight for them what can be done. Often they don't know what they could achieve or how to achieve those goals, but often they're interested. When I was in my first year with the Pampered Chef, I saw the trip, and it was a Hawaii trip. I saw that as something that only the top people could reach. I wasn't even tracking for it, but it was an annual, so I think it was through the end of the year we had to earn it, and it was about August, and my director told me I was close to reaching it and I should go for it. Well, of course, when she pointed that out and I saw what I needed, I did, but it was a prime example that someone knew. I had been with the company maybe 6 months. I could have totally missed out on it, not knowing that I could be striving for it. So, currently, myself and the training team, we really strive to watch for all of these sort of, we send a lot of encouragements at month end, for power bonuses, for quick starts. We track all of that. But quite honestly, as a leader, that should be something that you're doing for every person on your team. Watch out for them. Make sure that they don't miss out by a few dollars. And obviously that would be something key at each month end that you're doing. But even better, to highlight at the beginning of the month what they could be striving for. So again, we want them to feel recognized, but sometimes they don't know what categories, what they could be recognized for. And forward progress, it doesn't have to be a huge $5,000 month, although that would be nice, but recognizing people for making steps forward. And I shared this at a meeting the other night, that I was inspired. I happened to watch, I had the TV on while I was working out the other day, and Dr. Oz show. And on the Dr. Oz show, there's this YouTube guy named Shay and Gavin Butler, a father and son. And he wrote a book called Fat Dad, Fat Kid. And I love this story. I was really inspired by it, that this guy, this dad, had gotten to about 300 pounds just from, bad habits. And the way he became a YouTube sensation was he documented his weight loss, and the method that he used was simply something that we could use in our business. Do one thing better each day. So each day, just do one small step better than you did the day before. We can use that same technique as we're motivating our team. In fact, I've asked maybe some of you, but I've asked a few people I've been coaching this week to take a look at May. Look at what you did in personal sales, group sales, personal sponsoring, and number of live parties. So look at it, track it, write it down. What did you do in those 4 areas? Then decide what you're going to do in June. Can you do just one step better? That might be $1 more in sales. That would be better. It might be one more live party than you did the month before. It might be one new consultant. If you had none last month, have one new consultant this month. Wouldn't those make you feel good? Yeah. So can you use that same strategy with your team and help them to see where they were in May and where they're going? And with all the special promotions in the month of June, everyone should be able to make forward progress, even if it's in 2 of those 4 categories. But like I said, pointing it out and then recognizing them, that identify what you want them to repeat and make sure you're highlighting that. So I wanted to share, and I've shared this a little bit with some of you, that I may not be able to make a horse drink, but it's my duty to lead that horse to water. As a leader, that's what we want to consider. We can't make them do anything. This is a volunteer workforce, but as a leader, it's our duty to show them where that water is, what they can achieve. And so this week, my hope is that with each of your team members, and you can pull up your tree view genealogy or something so that you can see everybody. Number one this week, if you could contact them with a text, an email, a quick phone call, leave a message and say, hey, did you know you could go for fill in the blank of something that would feel like forward progress for them. Now, I do know that some of you have in the past highlighted active status 300 and that you like to celebrate that active status. My hope is that we can move away from just active status. And when I try to create awareness of an accomplishment for someone, I like it to be something that's in it for them. Active status is $90 in their pocket. That's not that compelling. But could they, this month, with all the promotions, if they were active last month, could they do 300 again this month and have a new team member that did 300? That would promote them to star. That would feel like forward progress. So I'd caution you to spend too much focus on just active status, but rather something that would make them feel good about themselves, like reaching star level. That's the first promotion. They'd get something in the mail. They'd get a little extra income, their name's in the newsletter. So focus more on things that they can feel proud of. Create that awareness, ask them if they'd like to go for it, ask them what they've already done, and then help them with that action plan with some other ideas. And when you start at the beginning of the month, it's not pushy. You're their success partner, and you can help them stay accountable throughout the rest of the month. So those are the 4 steps that can help you have more to recognize, right? I mean, it's hard to do recognition when there's not too much going on. So let's take a look at what are some things that you can recognize. And obviously, we've got team members all over the spectrum, but the first thing, when there are company awards, like this month we have the hat they can earn, or last month they had the table topper. You don't want to duplicate. There's no need to give something when they're already receiving an award from the company. If they hit quick start, there's no reason to give them something extra because they're getting the shopping spree. When they reach a power bonus, no reason to give them something because they're already getting that increase in their commission rate. But you want to publicly, and that would be, at meetings, have them come up to the front of the room or on Facebook as soon as they achieve it. You want to recognize that. And when others see that other people are doing it, then it's more attainable for them. A lot of times if they only see you as an achiever, it seems like they could never do it. But when they start seeing their peers achieving things, and the sooner the better that you post it, then they'll be more likely to consider striving for a goal as well. So, you might really focus in on earning that hat this month, and as people achieve it, and we'll be shipping them out. I was just at the office yesterday, and the hats are in, so they're ready to be shipped out as soon as they are achieved. Put them on, post them on Facebook, and let people, work to get there. Now, at your meetings, like I said, recognition, it should be something that everyone looks forward to, including you. You want to make that section memorable. And the way you do that is you bring people up to the front, give them a moment in the spotlight. I've seen some, the Chicago team here, and I know some other teams, make it really fun with taking pictures, sometimes with silly props, or, they have a big empty picture frame that they put around their heads, and they wear funny glasses and things. Make it memorable. You can also, of course, use that recognition as a mini training. How did they do it? And plan. I see so many team meetings where recognition seems to be an afterthought instead of one of the main reasons that you're getting together. Let's talk about measuring, because you need to choose things that you can track, right? So quick starts, that's obvious. That's an easy one, and you've got your quick start report. By the way, some of you I know have downline executives that maybe are not quite as involved or in tune with working with their team, should we say. So did you know that many of the reports, like the group report and the rank qualification, if you load in that executive's name, load from contact, you'll be able to see all the people in their downline. So quick starts, rank promotion, sales, sponsoring, group sales. Those are all things that you can easily track. So I want to talk to you a little bit about inclusive versus exclusive forms of recognition. Inclusive recognition means that a target is set and as many that achieve it are recognized. So let me give you an example. The $1,500 to earn the table topper or the hat, that is inclusive. That's the number. As many that achieve it will receive it. Exclusive, on the other hand, those are your top. Only a limited number can achieve it. Your top 3 in sales, your top 3 in sponsoring. You know, it could be on a monthly basis. It could be on an annual basis. So those, it's a competition, I guess. You want to balance inclusive and exclusive recognition each month and then annually for your team. So a little bit of both. Another example of inclusive, anyone with 3 or more parties, anyone that sponsors, anyone that attends the meeting. Or here's one, something that you can recognize. And remember, recognition is not only about tangible achievements, but it's about making people feel special. So let me put this out there. You should see a poll. Birthdays. That's the ultimate inclusive, right? Everybody's got a birthday. Do you recognize birthdays of your team members? Go ahead and click in. How do you recognize them? So on Facebook, if you know, most everybody has their birthday on Facebook, so that's an easy one. But a card in the mail really stands out. Sending a gift, or even just knowing, like if you're doing the monthly meetings and you know which month their birthday is, then you could do something special at your meeting for anybody who had June birthdays. So again, it's just something to consider. Maybe you haven't kept track of them before. It certainly is easy enough to start tracking, to ask everyone. Some leaders will send out a little survey or kind of an interview form when a new consultant first enrolls, and then you just add those to your calendar. So interesting. So many of you, more than half of you, recognize on Facebook, but a lot of you are not keeping track of it. So it's something to consider. That's another form of making people feel important, making them feel valued, making them feel more than just a number, right? So let's talk about how much you spend. And we'll talk about this on our one-on-one coaching call. But a good rule of thumb is that about 5% of not your whole commission for your whole business, but of the amount you earn on your team each month. So let's say that you are earning $1,000 in overrides from your team. So that would mean about $50 for the month would be spent on goodies, whatever that is, and we'll talk about ideas. But you don't have to spend a lot. You want to be creative. You want to create that moment, but you don't have to, you know, break the bank. So let's talk more about when you recognize. We are pretty much a monthly business. This is a cycle, a monthly cycle. So every month provides a reason to recognize the previous month's accomplishments, and the sooner the better in the following month. Recognition needs to be timely. So do this at your monthly team meeting, do it on your Facebook forum, do it with your conference calls, and on an annual basis, you might consider doing something bigger. January really provides an ideal time for a big kickoff team meeting. January, you want to get your team moving early in the year, and annual recognition can be a big segment of that meeting. Now, depending on where your team is at with things determines the budget. I'll tell you that there was a time in my business with the other company that I would personally give pretty big awards, ruby and pearl jewelry for top achievers in sales and sponsoring. And it was something that people really worked to achieve, and it kept December numbers up too when they knew that there was annual recognition. And if you are posting kind of year to date sales, personal sales, group sales, sponsoring for your team, people will start to pay more attention to that. So that's something to consider, annual events. In fact, let me ask this question to you as well. Did you or your upline recognize any annual achievements last year for 2015? You might have had a January meeting or maybe not. So okay, I'll wait a minute for you to click that in. I'm interested. Okay, so 60-40 split. It's something to consider, and again, the more ways you can recognize, the more likely people are to feel good about themselves and to strive for things. So the next bullet point, special events. When you have a visit from me or any of the home office staff, when we come to your team meeting, you can use that as an opportunity to create an incentive, something they can work for to attend, I don't know, a special dinner or lunch with the visiting home office person. You could do that without a home office visit, just when you have your monthly meeting, you could say anybody who has achieved fill in the blank is invited to dinner before or afterwards. Another thing that I have found is very successful is notes in the mail. That's just something so unheard of, and you can recognize not only birthdays but other things. Maybe their anniversary with the company, or they've reached a certain level of career sales, or of course a promotion to a new level. The more you take an interest in your team and give them reasons to feel proud, the more things they'll do to make you proud of them. Okay, so where do you recognize? We talked a lot about doing recognition at team meetings, but let me put out another poll. Where do you recognize accomplishments? And you can choose as many of these as apply. And as always, you want to always be thinking about which activities, which results are going to build their business. Those are the things you want to recognize. So thank you. I'm going to close this. Oh, you guys are still clicking in. Okay, Facebook is a huge venue for our Pure Haven Essential consultants and leaders. So 100% of you are using Facebook, and small amount doing a newsletter, or almost half of you doing something in the mail. That's good. Vary it, make them. What a great surprise it is to go to the mailbox and have a positive note from your upline leader. So all of those are possibilities in the mail, the Facebook, doing your own little team newsletter. It doesn't need to be a big deal. I personally did a team newsletter. I printed it out. Okay, I know that's old school, but I did. I just used Word on my computer. I did a monthly newsletter. I printed it out. I sent it by mail to everyone in my own executive group. And I'll tell you that at Christmas time, I actually did a newsletter that I mailed to everyone on my entire team, over 500 people. It was kind of like my Christmas card, but it had training content and recognition, and I wanted all the consultants in my entire downline to know that I valued them as a contributing member of the team. And honestly, people would look forward to getting that newsletter in their mailbox. I heard stories of, the husband or the family of the consultants that they always read it to see if mom was in the recognition section. So it can, as you build your teams, and some of you have smaller teams right now, but that's something to consider. When you have team members that attend conference, for a lot of them, that's a pretty major investment. So recognize that effort by making it special for them. Personally, I used to always have a welcome gift for conference attendees, and I would do a little reception in my hotel room. Even if it was just getting pizza and getting everyone together, it was a great way to connect, to let them know I appreciated them putting that effort into attending. And sometimes I would even do a special event. Depending on what the cost of the event was, they might have to qualify, but it was related to conference. If we were in Chicago, we might do the architectural boat tour, or if we were we had a conference in New Orleans and we did a Louisiana cooking school class. So again, all of these sorts of things are forms of recognition, and you want to plan on them. So how do you recognize? What you say and how you present it. Oh, I have a question here. Okay, thank you. You like things in the mail. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, old school sometimes is good. So anyway, what you say and how you present it, it really means more than the actual item. So the screen here says it's creating the moment. It's not necessarily about the memento. So be sure that, first of all, you've got accurate data and up-to-date data. Don't just leave it to them to... Some leaders, and I know this is tough when you've got people from other teams, some leaders will just say, well, everybody, if you had over 1,000, stand up and let's applaud you. It's not bad to do that. I mean, we want to applaud them, but it's much more powerful for you to say, wow, Susie had $1,293 in sales this month. That shows that you noticed, right? You recognized it. You noticed it. So that's much more powerful than just, hey, stand up if you did it. So have your act together with the recognition data. You can include more people in recognition by those personal bests, so one step better than what they did before, as well as the top achievers. And if at all possible, have them come up to the front of the room. It's just like, at conference, and I think everybody on here was at conference, there were some things where we had huge groups of things we recognized, and we just had people stand up and maybe their name was on the screen. But when you're crossing the stage, right, it's more exciting. It feels better. So use that same technique. I've also seen recognition done where people get a ticket for their achievement. And so if you, I don't know, sponsored someone, you have a ticket that goes in a drawing. Personally, I don't like, just drawing a name for recognition. I like the you do, you get recognition, leaving recognition up to chance. Personally, you could do a drawing for everybody who showed up. That's great, but to do a drawing for everybody who accomplished something, to me, that doesn't work too well. So instead, maybe you would do, some leaders have what I call a pick basket, a basket with a variety of fun things in it, anything from office supplies, dollar store items, seasonal things, and smaller achievements. You call them up and you have them just choose something out of the basket. And again, they don't need to be expensive. It's not a full package of catalogs. It could be 5 catalogs tied together with a pretty little bow on it. Remember, it's the moment. It's not the memento. Other things, maybe the person who helped with a product display, or the greeter, or, just make them feel good. that which is recognized is repeated. If you want people helping you at the meeting, maybe present them with something inexpensive but thoughtful. Well, some tea or coffee or, candy or something little. Just appreciation items. That's a form of recognition. Achievement. Of course, that's what we mainly think of. So promoting to a new level or sales over a certain amount or a certain number of people sponsored. It doesn't have to be expensive. You could do certificates, right? And you can find them on almost any, I think you can find them on Word or any program. So doing up a certificate is powerful. Ribbons. I used to use ribbons to signify their top party of the month and their total number of their total sales for the month. And theribbonplace.com is where I would find those ribbons. And I actually built in a little program where just before each national conference, they could cash in their ribbons for cash back toward conference. So if any of you are interested in that, we can talk about it on our one-on-one call, but that's another option. Pins, logo items, balloons are always festive. Putting balloons on the chairs of the top achievers, that's very festive. You can use product. That's always, people always love to get product, especially if it's something brand new. Like we had a meeting in Massachusetts on Wednesday, and so the new glass cleaner, people were thrilled to get that. But there are a lot of different stuff that you could give, and some websites that you might look at: Oriental Trading, officeplayground.com, Baudville, BAUDVILLE.com. They have just fun things that could go in a pick basket, or honestly, Target or the dollar store. Sometimes you can do a theme for your recognition and spice things up. And when I say spice, I mean literally. You could use spices. A bottle of thyme for the person who's putting in lots of time in their business. Pepper for the Pure Haven Essentials Pep Squad, the person who cheers everyone on. Nutmeg for being a little nutty with their new ideas. Sage for the wise old sage that shares her ideas with others. I know that candy is a little iffy with some of the dietary restrictions, but I will share with you that I used it a lot. A score bar for scoring the highest volume. Mounds bar for getting mounds of parties booked. M&Ms for more money, making more money. Payday for your best paycheck yet. $100,000 bar for a $1,000 party. So that could be a theme. Or even household items. So a glue stick. Don't confuse it with a boo-boo stick. They look a lot the same, but a glue stick for the person who's persistent and makes calls. They stuck to it like glued, right? Baking powder for the person who's risen above the challenges they've had. Q-tips for sharing a lot of quick tips at the meeting, and then they can use those Q-tips as they're sampling things at the party. So anyway, those are a few different thoughts, ideas, and we have provided with each of your team meeting agendas a list of ideas for recognition. So why do you recognize? Well, Zig Ziglar says people often say that motivation doesn't last, but he says neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. So again, people need that to keep going. It feels good to give it as well as to receive it. So giving them that pat on the back, create the moments to help them. In most jobs, that doesn't happen very often. So when you create that culture of achievement and recognition, people keep coming back for more. Here's another thing Mary Kay said. She said there's two things people want more than sex and money. They want recognition and praise. Gotta love that quote, right? Yeah, I can email you guys that spice idea, and I'm happy to send that out in our follow-up. Okay, so you have that power to inspire, to motivate, and I hope that this gave you a few ideas. We'll talk about what makes sense for you and your team with recognition going forward. But I hope you'll take a look at, again, with every monthly meeting agenda that we send you, there's an attachment for recognition, but I'll send you some of these ideas we just talked about. All right, I'm going to let you get on with your Friday. Hope that you're saving the date for 2 weeks from now. We're going to talk about different ways to communicate with your team. And then the last session is all about time management. So your assignments, let's schedule a coaching call. Before your call, have your plan. What are you already doing for recognition? Are there things you're thinking about doing? We can look at what makes sense. But also, let's look at your budget. So I'd like you to come to your next call with that number. What did you earn in May on your team override? So what, based on your team. So it's not your personal sales or power bonus, but it's that override. And we'll look at what 5% of that would be and how you can use that for a budget. So if any of you have questions, feel free to type those in. Otherwise, I will look forward to chatting with you in the next week or so. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.